I'd like to call this meeting of the Harriman City Council to order on August 2nd, 2022. Before we get started, we'll have a prayer by Councilman Wright, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Councilman Wright.
Yeah, if you'd join with me, I'd like to use a prayer that I heard recently. I don't know who conducted this, but it's, I think, most appropriate for today. Father in heaven, we the people in the land of the free and the home of the brave desperately need you. Oh, that we would leave our ways of seeking to be blessed and instead seek to bless others. We beg for your guidance and wisdom for our leaders. We ask you to protect our land from enemies, both within and without. And we praise you for the freedom we have through the blood of your Son. May your plan be the desire of our nation. Father, may we, all that we do in this meeting tonight be pleasing to your sight, and may your Holy Spirit guide our thoughts and actions. We ask that you be with our workers, especially those in the police and fire department, as we carry out our services to our citizens. In Christ's name we pray.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Brian Frost. Buddy Holly.
Here.
Tim Johnson.
Here.
Kenyon Me.
Here.
Sam Russell.
Here.
Lonnie Wright.
here.
I'd like to declare a quorum. Motion to approve the minutes of the July the 19th, 2022 meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Wright. Councilman Johnson.
No, sir.
Councilman Wright.
No, sir.
Floor is open for discussion. Corrections? Call the roll, please.
Buddy Holly.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Kenyon Me.
Yes.
Sam Russell.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
Motion carries. Motion to pay the salaries.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Wright. Second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Russell. Councilman Wright.
No, sir.
Councilman Russell.
No, sir.
Floor is open to discussion. Call the roll, please.
Buddy Holly.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Kenyon Me.
Yes.
Sam Russell.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
Motion carries. Motion to pay the bills.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Russell. Second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Holly. Councilman Russell.
No, sir.
Councilman Holly.
No, sir.
Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Buddy Holly.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Kenyon Me.
Yes.
Sam Russell.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
Motion carries. This time we'll hear from delegation. If you'd like to address this council, please come up to the podium, state your name, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. No one would like to address this council. We'll go into reports. Harriman Utility Board.
How you guys doing? It's the first time I've been in this building. It looks awesome, or in this room. I'm going to give 2 quick updates. Well, one of them's not so quick, but one of them is on the total monthly fuel cost. Total monthly fuel cost is a variable per kilowatt rate that began on October 2006. The total monthly fuel cost refers to the cost of the fuel that it takes TVA to generate power. Includes uranium, coal, oil, natural gas, and anything that TVA needs to purchase, such as fossil fuels, combined cycle and combustion turbine plants, to keep energy flowing affordably and reliably throughout the Tennessee Valley. So basically it's the cost of the raw materials that's used to generate electricity. I know we've had some questions recently about high power bills, and I guess unusually high power bills, like specifically this summer, specifically in July. Technically it was June, but one of the major reasons that TVA's total monthly fuel cost has increased more than double this time last year is the high price of natural gas. TVA generates about 25% of its electricity by burning natural gas. The total monthly fuel cost does not continually increase. It trends up and down as the market cost trends up and down. it's similar to how natural gas utilities such as HEB fluctuate, the fuel cost adjustment in natural gas as well. It's the same exact thing, and it fluctuates month to month. One of the things that we've been seeing right now, and it's very unheard of, we've been having residential rates above 12 cents per kilowatt hour. That's about the most I've ever seen it. I'm going to pass this little thing out just as an example real quick. This is a bill comparison from June 2021 to June 2022. Something we posted recently on Facebook. I know people have a lot of questions about it. I don't want to specifically blame the fuel cost adjustment, but at the same time, it has increased. As you can see, last year, our residential power usage is typically like 100 or 1,280 kilowatt hours per month. That's the average residential customer. Last year, that would have cost the customer $162.63, and this year, that cost $189.47. That's a $26 increase per customer, and we haven't had a rate increase since last year, so that's all due to the monthly fuel cost adjustment. So as you can see on there, last year in July it was 2.068 cents per kilowatt hour. This year it was 4.165 cents per kilowatt hour. Unfortunately, I don't really have any good news about that because we got an update recently in August. Is projected to be 4.612, so it's still going to increase next year. Next month on next month's bill. The bad thing about June specifically, if you guys think back, we had 2 weeks of ridiculously hot weather. I think the average temperature was somewhere around 80 degrees that month, just on average. So that mainly contributes to the high bills last month. On a little bit brighter note, I'm going to give a little update. So we have an opportunity at the utility board to donate out of our paychecks every pay period to what we call the employee fund. We use that money to buy candy for the parade, buy stuff for Harriman, things of that nature, make donations to things that we decide to donate to. Our employee committee decided this a couple months ago that they wanted to donate to the teachers. And so we originally had planned to donate $1,400. We're going to donate $100 to 14 different teachers out of all the schools that we serve. Luckily, we were able to get in contact with TVA, and they agreed to match our donation. So instead of donating $100 to 14 teachers, we got to donate $100 to 28 teachers. We had our drawing yesterday on Facebook. I think that we're reaching out to all the teachers right now, make sure they get their money. I know it's a big need for them. I just want to mention that a little something that our employees do. That's basically all I had, unless you guys have any questions.
Anybody have anything for Heath? Thank you, and thank you for explaining the bills.
It's hard to understand. One thing I would mention also is Harriman Utility Board does not get all that money that comes on that bill. We get about 20% roughly of what the customers charge. The rest of it goes to TVA. I know that's not something that everybody talks about every day, but that is the way it is. It's the way it is throughout the whole entire valley. If customers are wanting to help to try and decrease their energy usage, which is the way to save money, we have a couple of programs where we can come out. TVA will come out and do an energy audit in your house. I've had one done at my house in the past. I see all the ones that come in. The things they recommend in every single person's house is better insulation, upgrade your windows, upgrade your doors, make sure you don't have any air leaks. So they send out kits with LED bulbs in them. The kits have these little foam plates that you can go and take off your wall plates to help seal up any air leaks through your wall plates. There's lots of things that you can do, little tiny things that add up to big savings. So I just want to mention that real quick.
Appreciate it. Appreciate what y'all do. Thank you for giving back to the teachers.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Treasury report. Mr. Rutherford.
I think I'll just wait until I have a couple items on the agenda, so I'll just wait until then. Thank you, sir.
Okay. City Manager, Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. It has been extremely, and that's an understatement, busy 2 weeks. To hit some of the highlights of what's gone on since our last council meeting, Drac and his street crew have been extremely busy clearing the alleys, not only trimming trees back, but a lot of the undergrowth along those alleyways, and then continue with their routine maintenance. Also, after the storms, they've been really busy picking up a lot of the trees, but they've been really busy. Our Parks and Rec, I want to brag we just finished our Dixie Youth State Tournament, and I say we, and I really mean Charlie and the Parks and Rec crew. We had over 350 kids. The restaurants were full, the hotels were full, and this was because of a rain delay one day on a Monday. This started on a Wednesday night with people coming into the hotels, and it lasted for 1 week. And the feedback that we received from Dixie Youth and a lot of the participants was really positive. But I'd like to ask for Charlie, Josh, Natasha, and Chase. They're the ones with us tonight. Come on up here, guys, ladies. And we've got a couple that couldn't be here because of health reasons, but in talking with Charlie during this tournament, of course we hosted one last year, and this one went a lot smoother. And so when I talked to Charlie, the number one person he bragged on was Natasha right here. Natasha had to get all the volunteers together, and we had so many. Natasha had so many volunteers at some point during the tournament, she had to ask some of them to go home and they could stay, but she did a really good job doing that, pulling all together the paperwork, and then the financial report that she sent you all last week all came because of Natasha, and so she was ground central right here. We've got Josh and Patrick, Chase, I'm sorry, Josh and Chase. Yeah, I'm Patrick. Josh, one of our new employees, so he got inducted in trial by fire, but he did a really good job. Chase led keeping these fields backwards and forwards. When games were over, and I think we had, 6 games on a field a day, 12 total games each day. After each game, they had to drag the field, restripe it, and Chase was there. And I got down there early and left late, but Chase stayed after I was many days. He made sure those fields were in playable condition. So wanted to brag on them. And then Charlie, of course, Charlie's just his typical self running all over, but they really did a great job and brought a lot of pride to the city. And we raised enough money, we can, I think, talk about replacing both scoreboards at both of those fields this year due to the proceeds we made from the Dixie Youth, and also do some more upgrades with adding some dirt. So just really wanted to brag on them. And while they were up front during the tournament, the rest of Charlie's crew, they were out still trying to keep up in the parks with their mowing schedule and everything that's done on a daily basis. So all in all, our Parks and Rec program and department did a fantastic job. So just wanted to brag on them.
Before you go any further, I'd like to say that generates, from what they projected, was about $250,000 into our account. That is what that tournament brought in here. So I think that's something to be proud of.
Yeah, and Charlie's already chasing the tournament for next year as well. We were talking about that today.
We're working on it for next year.
The tournament, not here. Okay. I want to also brag on Travis Webb. Travis Webb is an employee with HEB. When we had rain that Monday, the games weren't scheduled to start till 5. We had a downpour about 2 or 3. I mean, it looked like lakes out there. Of course, the crew got out there when the rain broke, immediately started back, and we could have played games at 8 o'clock that night. We had 3 scheduled. But a large part of it, and Travis is not here, but Travis, I just want to brag on him and really thank him on behalf of the city. Back in the spring and winter, Travis went down on his own time and he dug probably 24 or 30 holes, massive holes in those fields where we had problems with water standing, and then we filled that up with large rock, small rock, and then covered that with silk screen and then covered with sand. So I wanted to brag on Travis doing that on his own time, and just because he loves Harriman and Parks and Rec, I think that helped a lot, being able to keep our fields, especially after that rain. So wanted to brag on him as well. Football and cheerleading signups, they've started. Charlie's got plenty of cheerleaders. We have
Finally got full football teams. They had 5 more sign up last night at the Bowers Back to School Bash, but I think he's included in your packet a schedule of all our youth league games. They're going to have a jamboree, and that'll be held on August the 13th at Rockwood, and kickoff will be at 11:30. As you drive around town, our new park signs are being installed. Should have them all in by the end of this week. Church League softball will begin on Monday, August the 22nd, and Charlie and Natasha have also started a 3-on-3 basketball tournament that's held at the Parks and Rec building. So they've already held one. They had a lot of positive feedback, so they're going to start another one, and that'll begin on August the 25th. The splash pad has been used every single day, and we had some problems with some leaks, some pretty serious leaks, and Charlie was just fit to be tied, and so we had to bring in some outside help. The people that installed it, Charlie was not having a lot of instruction or guidance from them. So I also want to brag on Jim Neely. Come up here, Jim. Jim, who's also an HUB employee, but on his own time and on a lot of weekends, Jim has come up, engineer Jim, and really helped Charlie. One of our major leagues, Jim came in and he said, oh, this is an easy fix, and he was able to get that and bring us back up to full pressure at the splash pad. And I've heard him talking to Charlie about the chemicals and making sure anything's in balance, and Jim's come by on the weekend. Charlie will say, hey, can you go look at that? Jim, boom, he's up there. So he's really been a big part in helping keep our splash pad up and running. So on behalf of the city, I want to thank you for everything you do as well.
I didn't do it for recognition.
I know you didn't. I know. It's like pulling teeth to get him here tonight.
Small token of thanks to the mayor and the council for investing back in our community. You know, the splash pad's a great thing.
And what Jim just said right there is I was complimenting all our Parks and Rec, and I did them separate text messages. I didn't do it as a group, but every single person came back. It was a team effort, total team effort. That's what Jim's just talking about right there. It's everybody pitching in to make it a success, and kids making memories, and adults that last for a lifetime. So on behalf of the city, and hopefully, I know the city council and the mayor, thank you for everything you do. Let's keep that up and running. Thank you. Our new golf carts should start arriving by Friday, August the 12th. We'll have plenty of new golf carts for the Harriman High School band tournament that's going to take place on Saturday, August the 13th. And they've reached out to all the graduating classes. I think Charlie told me 40 teams that are going to be in a 2-day tournament, and the whole purpose of that is to come together, and Charlie also included this in your packet. They're going to try and raise money for new funds for band uniforms. So looking for that to be very successful, and the golf course is looking better and better every day. I want to give you an update too on our Turn Up the Heat campaign. This will be included it's also included in your direction. I've tried to color code it to make it a little easier to understand. But as a reminder, this is on behalf of the city and the Harriman Police Department when we start on June 1st to really crack down, clean our streets up, make Harriman a safer place. And our PD has done a tremendous job. As those numbers reflect, I'll go over them. As of Friday, June the 1st, they've charged 52 people with drug charges. And in our last 2 weeks from our last city council meeting, that's 16 additional people that have been arrested on drug charges. Total, there's been 102 drug charges since June the 1st. In the last 2 weeks, there's been additional 28 drug charges on behalf of our police department. 69 of those drug charges are the result of our Harriman PD drug unit, and that's 28 additional charges in the last 2 weeks to bring that number to 69. And finally, we've had 5 total K-9 deployments, and that's an increase of 3 K-9 deployments since our last council meeting. So they've really turned up the heat and making a really positive difference. And so kudos to our police department. Last part of my report this afternoon is our library, and I'm glad to see Tammy and Connie here. They do a fantastic job. They just completed their Title VI training, which is required on an annual basis. Quarterly report's been completed and sent to the regional library, which is required. They're going to have their annual book sale, and it's going to start on August the 8th and will run through the end of the month. So as they sell these books, as they go out of circulation, they sell these, and these funds are funneled right back into the library to purchase needed items. So you get a chance to support that book sale, do that. Again, it's August 8th through the 31st. The summer reading program just wrapped up with the start of school. Connie did a fantastic job with that. They had a wide variety of speakers over there, well attended by families, and just kudos to what they did with that. And last night, they participated in the Bowers Back to School Bash down at Riverfront Park. So, again, sing their praises every week, every month too. They do a tremendous job. Just in closing, we're continuing our police and fire community get out and meet and greet cookouts. We had to cancel our one last Thursday night due to weather, but we're going to reschedule that, and we will also schedule an event for West Hills and Fisk Heights, and we'll let y'all know as soon as I get with Chief Tapp and Chief Daniels and get that scheduled. Couldn't end my report without giving an update on our trash cans. Of course, they were delivered. We've got Doug and John here, representative of Waste Connections today. They've been really good. They've been here the past week talking to residents, working with the city, trying to adjust routes for pickups and trying to make sure that people's pickup spots and locations are the same place they've always been, and work out, make sure everybody's got bins. If they need another bin, they're trying to work with that. They've delivered them to a house that's empty no longer, so they're trying to work through that. And Doug said it's a change. It'll take about 30 days, but we've been extremely busy with that. So they will be here after the meeting if you have any questions, or if you have any questions now. But Doug McGill and John McDonald, who's our regional sales manager, and they've really been good to work with during this change. And I think that's all I've got, Mayor.
Anybody have anything for Mr. Mason? I'd like to say, just listening to your report and listening to Heath's report, we don't realize how much HEB gives back to the community. Whether it's on the clock or off the clock, I know even at the tournament, we had some power problems that we needed new power, and we called them and they came right in. It's partnerships like that that makes things go so much smoother. We appreciate what you guys do and what you give back to, and we appreciate HEB being a part of our city. So thank you all. This time we'll go into old business. Only item on old business, discuss and possibly approve final reading on ordinance 0722-01, an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending ordinance 0721-01, being an ordinance to be established a budget for the city of Harriman, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022. This is second reading of the budget amendment. Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Meade. Councilman Johnson.
No, sir.
Councilman Meade.
No, sir.
Floor is open for discussion. Chris, do you have anything you want to read on that? I think that.
Other than that, there were no changes, obviously, from the first reading to the second.
Call the roll, please.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Tim Johnson?
Yes.
Kenny Me?
Yes.
Sam Russell?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yes.
Motion carries. New business. First item, discuss and possibly approve the first reading on ordinance 0822-01, an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the city of Harriman, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July the 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Holly, second by Councilman Meade. Councilman Holly. Councilman Meade.
I just wanted to be able to get on the floor for discussion. So. And knowing that stuff can change between this one and next year.
I'm going to turn it over to our city treasurer, if that's okay with you all.
So thank you, council members. So what you have in front of you is basically two documents. One is an email that I sent out this afternoon, early this afternoon, regarding three things that were caught in the final review of the budget, specifically in the payroll section. And I sent an email to you all and wanted to make sure that since it was today that you did receive it by this meeting time. So you're going to have that on the top of your packet for the new budget. And underneath that, of course, is the budget proposal for the next fiscal year. So to kind of present it to you guys, what I'd like to first start with is that our revenues are projected to exceed our expenditures. That continues with the wonderful leadership and fiscal responsibility of this council, the leadership of this mayor, and everyone involved. The city manager has a big role in that. All the department heads have a big role in that. Something that we should all be very proud of. So this budget will ultimately result in more money going back into our general fund, which will allow us, of course, to apply for more grants and have more money in our savings account, which allows us to get approved for those grants. So I first want to start off with that. There's not a lot of big changes to the budget with one major exception, and that is, of course, given inflation, we want to keep our employees properly compensated. As you all probably are all aware, I believe, if anyone shops at a grocery store or buys gasoline, they know that inflation has been substantial. We're at over 40-year highs, and so we have to do something to offset that, to provide some relief for our employees. What we've done is we've proposed a $1 per hour across the board increase in pay. Along with that is a $2,000 per employee, full-time employee bonus. Those bonuses will be paid out at certain times during the year, which can be decided later on. They don't have to be decided tonight or during the budget process. So that's one of the major changes through the budget. So you're going to notice that in the salary line items. Apart from that is really just one major purchase. For example, with the fire department, we are going to be purchasing a new fire truck this year. The great news about that is that we're going to be purchasing the fire truck in this fiscal year, but we will not be paying for it until next fiscal year. So we don't worry about making any payments on that until fiscal year 2024. So apart from that, I really don't have a lot that I would like to point out to you. There's really not that much that I would consider to be outstanding. There is a general increase in fees, or I'm sorry, in expenditures, but what we also have, and this is something that I think is something that should absolutely be celebrated, it's something that I talk a lot about whenever I do talk at our meetings, and that is that the reason that we're able to have budget surplus is because of the investment that we've made in the Midtown exit and other areas in downtown that brings in constant, steady sales tax revenue. It's substantial. It continues to grow. Over the past 5 years, we've had an annualized growth rate of approximately 7 to 8%. What that means in dollar terms for this fiscal year, if we continue on that rate, is approximately an additional $200,000 in sales tax revenue. We are technically in a recession right now. If you look back over the past 6 months, sales tax collections have only increased. So being in a recession is always backwards looking. We've seen increases in sales tax revenue. So I won't say that we can project for sure that we'll have another 6% increase, but it's certainly looking like we can do that. So that's one of the things that is wonderful about the budget is to know that we have a steadily increasing base of sales tax revenue. I'd love to take any questions for anybody that has them.
No tax increase, Chris?
No, sir. Thank you. No tax increase. I would like to continue the good news with, I think we're coming up on 20 years, if I'm not mistaken, without a property tax increase. Again, the reason we're able to do that is because of increase in sales tax revenue.
Floor is open for discussion.
I know I asked you last meeting, we kind of talked about it, like the Hooray for Harriman Reserve.
Yes.
So the actual finish in 21 was 8,800 on page 3. It's uncommitted fund balance and I was looking.
So you're looking under expenditures associated with Hooray for Harriman?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you told me it was the different line items, but we're proposing in 23 for the 27,000. said we kind of group them all into that, and start trying to break it down.
Exactly. So because we have numerous events that occur, as opposed to accounting for them on an individual basis, we basically combine them into events in the Hooray for Harriman as if it were just for that event, but that's not exactly correct. They are all combined into one. There is one that I think I mentioned last time that we are going to separate out, and that's the Gates Hall, simply because the revenue associated with that is going to be pretty substantial. It'll probably, the renovations, although I'm not 100% certain on the total cost, but from our estimates, I believe that we could probably pay for those renovation costs within 5 years based on the current amount of usage that it's getting. We're staying very busy. I think if Martha Wilkinson was here, she would attest to that. So, but specifically talking about what you're referring to there with Hooray for Harriman, it is kind of a collection point of all activities, all events that occur in the city of Harriman.
Okay, I don't want to jump around on you, but I'm getting ready to.
Sure.
On the first page, we're going certified population of 6,350.
Yes, sir.
And what's that one based off what?
That is based off
Census.
of census numbers, exactly. And that is something that we coordinate with the state on about that. That number is important. I'm glad you brought it up. That number is important because it determines how much we get of Tennessee state shared revenue. So, for example, we get a share of occupancy. We get a share for the taxes associated with gasoline expense. We get a share of the state sales tax. So there's several ones that go under that, but those are the main ones that we receive, and that is based off of our population.
Is that one, did it change any?
The population.
I thought we were a little less on.
The population, the certified population is. I'll have to check exactly where that number, what affects that number, but what we use is the most recent census number.
Okay. And then I got a few other ones. Scott, you might be able to answer to them more, like on the changes we wanted to do, like in this email. Where did we come up with these numbers, like the first one for 10,000? Did we look at the survey of like directing and...
Yeah, one thing we discussed was the amount of time that's put in up there to run that, as opposed to if we wanted to hire somebody full-time to run that place, what would it be worth based on the amount of hours, time they put in after hours, or after regular working hours, and working on the weekends. So that seemed to be an agreeable figure.
The only reason I'm bringing this up is because we've ran into this before. If we're wanting to give them a raise because we're working them overtime, you're going to run into a situation where you're overworking somebody, which is one of the reasons we were able to hire an assistant back years ago when it switched from Drac to Allen, trying to get away from having so much where Drac was a full-time day and a full-time evening person. And it started changing with Allen, and we're able to hire Natasha and stuff like that. And so maybe he does need a bump for what he's doing because there's a lot of stuff going on, but we talked about one time taking and golf course being one of the reasons, is looking at a golf course employee or hiring him somebody that can do a little bit more without Charlie having to be there to say, direct it, versus having a supervisor there that can actually set schedules and stuff like that for him to alleviate him staying there all the time.
We went back and looked, I guess, over the past 4 or 5 years, the number of full-time positions in golf course has gone from 4 to 2 to 3 to 1, and that was part of the recommendation of adding that additional full-time position, so we would have somebody there to help with those schedules throughout the week. And we reached out, we looked at what's the cost analysis. The golf course has made more money this past year than I think it ever has. And our goal is to try and get that thing to break even. So, if we were to totally separate ties and look at bringing somebody in as an addition, that's just their sole responsibility, that cost could be anywhere between $40,000 to $45,000 to what we paid in the past. So when we look at it financially, somebody who was already in place, who we thought is doing a really good job and brought the golf course further, we thought that was an an acceptable adjustment.
So you're making 2 full-time employees up there?
Creating one part-time and turn that into a full-time.
All right, well, which ones are gonna be, because the budget really just shows the one, which is Santos, listed as a heavy equipment operator. While we still use those, I can't remember why we did that for the golf course positions, use laborers and operators and stuff. But yeah, there's only one full-time showing on here, so it would be whatever we come up with on Charlie's pay plus whichever one we're moving to full-time. So you're talking about getting rid of a part-time to make it full-time?
That's what we talked about. Yeah, we've got 2 additional workers, and then we have a hard time getting part-time staff in there. So to help with that, we did talk about dropping a part-time position, yes.
Because the part-time ones are usually those are the ones we're down to still paying under $10 an hour.
That's what we talked about too in our discussions. I think at one of our workshops, we looked at a 5% increase and, how we want to compensate our employees. And it was actually a suggestion from the mayor that we look at each employee getting the $1 an hour raise. And we think that's going to be effective with our part-time employees especially. That's probably our highest turnover that we have. And maybe a way especially to keep some of our younger employees that do a really good job with us a little bit longer.
But didn't the $1 an hour, is it not in this budget?
It should be.
You have 2 copies of the payroll matrix. You have one from the previous year, from last fiscal year, and you have the new fiscal year proposed, just as a means of comparison. So,
Right, in the 2 columns?
yeah, you'll see under current and proposed, you'll see a $1 increase across the board. That way you'll know
Because
there.
there's a few of them on here that aren't.
Could you tell me which ones?
Santos on the golf course is only 45 cents.
I'm looking at 1545 to 1645. I think you're looking at last year's.
Ours also is the
Yeah,
same
that's
thing.
what our copy says.
Which is, none of these is basically a $1 an hour raise.
Say again.
What he's looking at is I'm looking at, even at the street department, none of those raises are $1 an hour raise.
Looks like the only ones we got.
I think you guys are looking at last year's.
Like these
That's the only
on,
one we got.
but the other pages, I'm sorry, these. On police and fire. Looking at the last thing, I don't know the highlight, maybe notice it. They might be writing the numbers on the other page and we just don't have the spreadsheet.
I'm not sure how you got that copy. I have the.
We get in your secret file.
Yeah, that's what it is. I have the exact copy that I made off the exact same template for you guys in front of me, and everything has the correct $1 increase.
I noticed in the first 2 pages, it says the 2023 proposed, but when you get down to the back pages, it says the 2022 proposed.
Yep. The last 2 pages, yes.
So yeah,
While he's looking at that, the difference, we looked at the 5% with the $2,000 bonus, but what we found, when you looked at some of our lower paid individuals on the payroll, 5% increase sounds like a lot, but they were only getting 25, 35 cents an hour. It includes some of our officers, our police officers. They might get a 65-cent hour raise. So it was almost cattywamped, I guess, the way to explain it. So when we sat down and looked at the mayor's suggestion of going across the board with a dollar an hour raise plus a $2,000 bonus, what we saw, we thought that was much more fair. Every employee gets a $2,080 pay raise each year. And what it did as far as the percentages, those that were lower paid are actually, with the $2,000 bonus, getting as much as a 14% raise. So lower, as we worked up the scale, those that are higher paid got a less percent raise, if that makes sense.
And it equaled out to being close to the same as doing 5% across the board when you looked at the overall amount that was spent. But it gave everybody the same thing. Didn't matter if you made $80,000 a year or you made $40,000 a year. It kept everybody on the same with a $1 an hour raise. So it helped. As we said, as we talked about inflation is going up, and we've heard HEB talk about how much this helps everybody instead of just the top end people.
It does, and it helps some people more as far as percentage. And then what I think is Chris emailed out this afternoon, some of those changes, I told him as we make those adjustments in the pay matrix, and to make sure to include you all in that so that it is, y'all will know when it's time for our second reading, those changes have been made.
They're all updated, they're all correct. I think maybe there was potentially an issue specifically with yours, but I handed these out at random, and mine has all the correct numbers as well.
Oh, you just sent it out of
It was just a cleverly disguised test. You passed, congratulations.
I think all of ours is the same as his.
Maybe
Yeah,
so.
they're all, mine's wrong too.
Okay, I don't know how in the world that happened, but I have the correct ones here. We can make copies of them real quick for you.
It's just the last 2 pages. I guess what caught me, I was looking on there and I seen employees that's not here anymore. I thought, oh, we still let them employees we don't have.
Oh, and this is current employee list, this new.
Teresa's going to make copies of those last 2 pages. So like Chris and I were talking to, as you look through that these next 2 weeks before we have our second reading, if you have any suggestions or any questions, reach out. Councilman Russell and I were talking today too. I think what y'all had in previous years is a layout of our capital outlay goals and plans that we have and projects. So I was going to try and put one together really quick tonight. But we really actually have two pots of funds. We've got 325,000 that will be added to our general fund, which we can always pull from. Hopefully we don't have to. But the funds that were unused in our capital outlay projects last year, what we did in this budget is roll those over so we can continue those same projects. Also, we have another 800,000 to 900,000 coming in November of our ARP funds. So I'd really like to look at that. I have put together some projects for that because we have to allocate those by 2024. So a lot of that can be spent on any government building. For example, we didn't put our 100,000 back in for our temperance building, but we can pull ARPA funds for that. Our plaza that's outside, and then anything else that's a government building, some of our sidewalk projects. If that's the way the council wants to go, then we can certainly work on that. But I'm hoping our comprehensive plan, once we get our results back in October, that will also provide council and the city with some direction on what our citizens would like.
And to the mayor's point, I'd like to mention on the salaries, the way that we did it really benefited those that are hit the hardest by inflation, those that have potentially the least amount of discretionary income. So the folks on the lower end of the pay scale received a substantial increase in pay. And when you combine the $2,000 bonus with that, they're the ones that are going to feel it the most, because they're the ones that are being hit hardest the most right now, so.
And Chris mentioned one thing we can certainly talk about. Every year we've been able to give a bonus to our employees. Well, they've always questioned, I wonder what we're going to get, if we're going to get any. And it's always, I think it's come as a surprise, just the 2 times I've been involved. So what we thought would be nice to take a portion of that $2,000 bonus, like Chris said earlier, maybe give a portion now once the budget has been approved, and then have to set them out. We can tell our employees, hey, you will get this second check at the end of November and 1st of December, so they can plan accordingly as well. I've run that by several of our employees, and they like that idea.
While she's running copies, Councilman Lee, is it all right if I leave you for a minute and then come back to you when you get those copies? Any other council have anything with what you got, any questions? About the budget. I know we've talked about in the past, at the end of the year, whatever we're over compared to what we expect it to be at, we would roll over into our capital fund. Are we rolling that money over? I looked at it earlier today, and I couldn't tell that we've been rolling money over, and our fund balance just keeps growing. And it's good to have a big fund balance, but we wanted to offset some of that back into our capital fund. Are we starting to do that some now, or are we still just letting our general fund just continue to climb?
We can certainly do that, and that's definitely an appropriate measure. Once you have a general fund that has reached a certain percentage of your total budget, and with what we project to be the overage for this year, we will definitely have an amount that we would probably want to roll over into that capital project fund. Great point, Mayor, and we can address that at a. What I would suggest is do a mid-year review of the amount that we have at that time, see what our expenditures are going to be, see what inflation does, because if we do have continued high inflation, we do need to consider that as part of the discussion for the next fiscal year for salaries, because salaries are obviously our largest line item. As those costs associated with salaries increase, that will be something we'll have to consider. Thank you, Teresa.
Many thanks to Teresa for acting quickly to make the copies of those last 2 pages, not to embarrass Teresa, but
On the new one that we just got, I want to ask about the other questions about the budget. We have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Tim Johnson?
Yes.
Kenyon Reed?
Yes.
Sam Russell?
Yes.
Ronnie Wright?
Yes.
Motion carries. Last thing on the agenda, discuss and possibly approve bid for repairing, seal coating, and restriping of the City Hall and Library parking lots. In your bid packet, there's 2 bids in there. The low bid is Pro Asphalt at $88,742.50. Motion to approve Pro Asphalt.
Make a motion.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Wright. Councilman Johnson.
No, sir.
Councilman Wright. Floor is open for discussion.
On both of them, the portion of Dixie Lee alleyway, are we going to jackhammer the concrete up out of the alley before we try seal coat?
is this portion right behind City Hall is part of
Oh,
the
this side of
parking lot. But making that alleyway across, we've talked about, and I would love to see that happen.
I just want to make sure we were doing that side, but
It's not in this particular bid, but if council's for that, I would love to make that alley concrete free.
Any other discussion? Call roll, please.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Tim Johnson?
Yes.
Kenny Me?
Yes.
Sam Russell?
Yes.
Bonnie Wright?
Yes.
Motion carries. It's all on the agenda. Councilman remarks, Councilman Russell.
No, sir.
Councilman Johnson.
No, sir.
Councilman Wright.
No, sir.
Councilman Holly.
No, sir.
Councilman Meade.
No, sir.
The only thing I have is Thursday is election day here in Roane County. Make sure you get out and vote. That's one of the freedoms that we still have. It doesn't matter who you vote for. Just exercise those freedoms and get out and vote. Polls will be open from 8 to 8. There's 2 precincts inside the city that people can get out and vote, and there's 20 precincts throughout this county. So make sure you get out and vote. It's hard to gripe when you don't vote. So just make sure you exercise that right. Appreciate all you guys do. We have some council races on the thing, so make sure we vote. That's all come before this council. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign.